Australia is demanding China investigate the alleged laser incident which took place last week. Here's why fingers are being pointed. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has asked the Chinese government to explain what he called the dangerous act of shining a laser at an Australian P-8A surveillance aircraft that was tracking two People's Liberation Army Navy vessels through the Arafura Sea inside Australia's exclusive economic zone on February 17th, according to CNN. Chinese state newspaper The Global Times cited an anonymous military analyst who said the equipment involved in the incident was a laser range finder used to measure the distance between the ship and the aircraft, and said its use was normal if an aircraft got too close to a vessel. One maritime security expert cited by The Guardian, however, said if pilots were dazzled, it could affect their ability to safely land, and more seriously, the use of a laser could be seen as a precursor to firing a weapon. China's defense ministry said Australia's aircraft got within 4 kilometers of its vessels, while an Australian defense spokesperson said the distance was approximately 7.7 kilometers. The incident is widely seen as a further escalation in tensions between Australia and China in the wake of Canberra entering a pact with the United States and United Kingdom to acquire nuclear-powered submarines. The pact, announced in November, will see Australia provided with the technology to build nuclear-powered submarines in a move taken to allow its currently diesel-powered navy to match China's technologically, with the practical advantages of nuclear submarines being that they can move at faster speeds, for longer, and more stealthily than conventional ones. But there is also a clear symbolic element to be only the 6th country in the world to own nuclear submarines, whereby it acts as a response to China's military buildup in the Indo-Pacific, according to the BBC. Elsewhere, the laser incident is not the only tension-raising activity China's Navy has been involved in recent months, having completed a near full circle of Japan in a joint exercise with Russia in October. The Chinese warships included a Type 055 destroyer, a Type 052D destroyer, and 2 Type 054A frigates, while the Russian ships included 2 Udaloy-class destroyers, 2 Sterekshai-class corvettes, and a Marshal-Nedeling-class ship, according to The Drive. The exercises brought the charge of hypocrisy because China regularly condemns similar exercises by the U.S. and the Taiwan Strait as destabilizing. 2 weeks before that exercise, for instance, the Chinese military's Eastern Theater Command suggested a U.S. and Canadian transit could seriously jeopardize peace and stability in the Strait, according to CNN. Both those ships and now the Chinese and Russian vessels remained in international waters, but notably the Chinese and Russian ships took a route through the Tsugaru Strait, which is only around 12 miles wide at its narrowest point. That places them well within the area that can be claimed by a country under international law, though Japan only actually claims areas 3 miles from either shore. An American fighter jet has crashed during exercises in the South China Sea. Here's what you need to know. A U.S. Navy F-35C Lightning II crashed while attempting to land on the USS Carl Vinson, injuring 7 sailors, according to a statement by the U.S. Pacific Fleet Command. The Monday statement said the fighter jet was conducting routine flight operations when the landing mishap occurred, and while the pilot safely ejected from the aircraft and was recovered via U.S. military helicopter, 3 of the injured sailors had to be evacuated for treatment in the Philippines, where they have been described as stable. The South China Sea has frequently played host to naval activity in recent years as China has asserted claims over almost all of the area by building up and militarizing islands and reefs, while the U.S. has sought to assert its right to operate freely in what are international waters with carrier deployments. As such, the USS Carl Vinson was operating alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group on Sunday, having come from a joint exercise with a Japanese helicopter destroyer in the Philippine Sea on Saturday. On the same day, emphasizing the multifaceted struggle for power in the area, China flew 39 planes into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, according to Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense, the second largest such incursion in one day. Of course, as military activity increases, accidents tend to as well, and this was not the first high-profile military accident in the region this month, with a recently upgraded Taiwanese F-16V crashing into the ocean off western Taiwan on January 11th. Air Force Command Headquarters said in a statement cited by Reuters that the F-16V took off from Jiayi Air Base at 2:55 p.m. on a routine training mission before going missing from radar screens at 3:23 p.m. According to Taiwan's National Rescue Command Center, debris from the missing jet was found on January 12th. Suspected remains of the pilot were found the following day. The USS Carl Vinson is also no stranger to accidents, with one widely reported incident coming in 2014, when two FA-18C Hornet fighter jets were conducting routine training with several other aircraft off the aircraft carrier. NBC News reported that the two planes were in a holding pattern, preparing to land when they suddenly collided. One of the pilots safely ejected, but the other was killed. Tensions are rising in the waters around China, with a huge international fleet conducting drills in the Western Pacific and the South China Sea. Here's what you need to know. 3 aircraft carriers from the US and UK combined with a helicopter carrier from Japan to conduct exercises north of Taiwan in the same weekend that China made a record number of incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone. Citing the Japanese Defense Ministry, USNI reports that the carriers operating off the southwest coast of the Japanese prefecture of Okinawa were supported by ships from the Netherlands, Canada, and New Zealand in a fleet totaling 17 that was also pictured with British and American fighter jets overhead. The exercises were characterized by Japan's nationalist paper Sankei Shimbun as an effort to contain China, and that rhetoric may be in response to China's increasingly threatening incursions into Taiwan's air defense zone, with 93 such incidents occurring between Friday and Saturday, plus an additional 56 on Monday, which took the single-day record for most incursions, according to Reuters. The U.S. State Department's position over the weekend was that it was very concerned by China's provocative military activity near Taiwan, which is destabilizing, risks miscalculations, and undermines regional peace and stability, according to the BBC, and significant military activity in the area is ongoing. The United Kingdom carrier Strike Group 21, led by the HMS Queen Elizabeth, announced on Twitter on Monday that it had passed through the Luzon Strait on its way to Singapore, and the New Zealand Navy added that its own HMNZS Te Kaha would be transiting alongside it in the South China Sea. Elsewhere, just over a week ago, the UK's HMS Richmond made a rare voyage by a non-US ship through the Taiwan Strait, according to France 24. The military response from China came through its Eastern Theater Command, which said it sent air and naval forces to shadow the HMS Richmond and directed to leave the strait, according to CBS News. Taiwan News reports that the HMS Richmond went on to take part in exercises with the Vietnamese Navy frigate Dinh Tien Hong on Monday before heading to Singapore, the first ever at-sea naval activity between the two navies, according to USNI News. Of course, these are only the latest developments within the dynamic of increasing tensions between China and much of the rest of the world. The US's new pact with Australia and the UK represents a major expression and cause of tension. So does the increasing activity of the Quad, an informal strategic forum between the US, Japan, Australia, and India that is solidifying into a further anti-Chinese bloc. And so does a 2020 bilateral defense pact between Japan and Australia. But there are also many less prominent signs of escalation and tension around China, both geographically and politically. For instance, although not involved this time, in March the French Defense Ministry announced that a nuclear attack submarine had conducted a patrol in the South China Sea, along with a support ship to underscore freedom of navigation. In addition to this, France sent an amphibious assault helicopter carrier and the frigate on a long-term deployment involving passing through the South China Sea twice. On top of China's attempts to take control of Taiwan against the will of the Taiwanese people, the South China Sea is a source of tension because it is the center of numerous economic, island, and maritime disputes between China, Taiwan, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and the Philippines. The French military tweeted that the ships passed through the Suez Canal on February 25th and conducted exercises with the Egyptian Navy on March 3rd and March 4th.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.